Hello and welcome. I am Light, and this is my channel. Today I am going to tell about a paranormal experience that I had. Now, I have previously told about my experiences on this channel. We have many new people who might not have heard it before, so I thought it'd be kind of fun to do it again, and I'll be doing that throughout the 31 days of Halloween. And the people who have heard it before might enjoy hearing it again. So before we get started, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you are not subscribed, please do so. It really helps my channel to be recommended so that other people can come and listen to my videos, watch my videos as well, which obviously helps my channel. Okay, here we go. Let's talk about the time I used a Ouija board. Now, this was my second time using a Ouija board, and the first time we had a paranormal experience, and maybe I'll tell you that sometime, but we're going to do this one first. So my parents lived on some property, and my brother and his wife and I decided that we were going to go camping in the wooded part of my parents' property where I had grown up my whole life, most of my life. So we did that, and somehow there was a Ouija board there, and I suppose probably my brother brought it, because I never allowed one to be in any house that I lived in. Before I tell you this story, I need to tell you another story. I worked at this restaurant slash bar, and I was the youngest person, who worked there. So a lot of the people would, kind of take me under their wing. Well, the bartender, she would babysit for me. For those of you that don't know, I had a child at a very young age. So she would babysit for me and sort of look out for me. And she knew that we were broke, like no joke, broke. And so she would, feed my son and I on the weekends and things. And we were very close. My son loved her. She had 3 of her own children and a husband, and he was welcomed into her family like he was a member of her family, and we were very close. Some things went down with her and her husband. To make a long story short, she took her kids and she was going to California, and she stopped at Crater Lake. Just by the name alone, if you do not know what Crater Lake is, it is a caldera, a crater in a former volcano. A terrible, terrible accident happened, and her young daughter had crawled over the rail, and she went to pick her daughter up, put her on the right side of the rail, and she ended up falling about 1,500 feet and passed away. So that had been a really recent event in my life and was very traumatic. I had previously had a best friend die, but in general in my life, I really hadn't been around any kind of death or anything before, or had anybody other than like my great-grandparents died when I was little, that type of thing. So it was weighing heavily on me and my son as well. Cut to my brother, his wife, and I are in a tent and sleeping bags in the wooded area of my property. So we start to do a Ouija board. and it's summertime. So it's, it's warm out there and everything. And we start to do the Ouija board, and, it's always kind of hard to tell with a Ouija board if it's really working or if someone's moving it. But in this particular circumstance, we didn't have our hands on the planchette. It was moving. And what it spelled out was, I am still here. Now, just the fact that the planchette moved on its own was enough to scare us right back into my mom and dad's house. Now, we're adults, okay? We had just come out because they had property and we could go camping. It was easy to do. And we grew up, out in those woods and playing in those woods. And I've told a lot of stories about those woods. Scared us right back in the house. But that's not where it ends. The next day, we get up, we walk outside, and we're standing on my parents' back deck. And I have a tank top on. And on the my right shoulder, on my back, there was, sorry if you can hear my dog walking around, on my shoulder, my right shoulder, was a right handprint with the fingers up towards, the top of my shoulder, and it was burned into my skin. I am a very pale, pasty, Scottish person, and it was burned into my skin, a full hand. Now, I couldn't have done it myself, because if I had put a handprint on myself, it would have been upside down. And I don't even know how you would burn a handprint into yourself anyway. So it had to have been my friend Maria, who I believe this, fully believe this, that it was Maria telling me that she was still there and burned a handprint on my back. It didn't hurt. It didn't feel like a stinging sensation, like a sunburn. It didn't feel like that, but it was a sunburn type of burn, bright red burn on my shoulder. And it lasted, I don't know, maybe a couple of days, maybe. But it was enough to scare me to never, ever use a Ouija board again. And I know that Rob is going to hear this, and he freaks out whenever I tell him that I have used a Ouija board before, because he's very afraid of things like that. So, sorry about that, Rob. But that's not even the scariest thing, paranormal thing, that has happened to me in my life. So stay tuned, because we'll get progressively scarier throughout the month. Thank you for coming, and good night.